The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everybody, and welcome to our webcast, Have You Outgrown Your Legacy ERP System? I'm Kim Coster, and I'm joined today by Veronica Penland. So welcome, Veronica.
Hello.
And just a couple of housekeeping items. We will be taking questions, and so please put them in the question chat box, and then we'll fill those questions while Veronica is doing the demo. Okay, so any question is good. She'll be happy to answer anything for you. If we don't get to your question, then we'll answer you back personally, and you will receive a copy of this presentation as well as the recording within 48 hours. Now, as a part of this webcast, we're going to do some polling today, and they really help make the webcast more fun. So I hope that you'll participate in it. Now, our quick agenda for today, I'm going to talk through some slides on project-based ERP, and then Veronica's going to demo the Unanet product, and she's going to show you how Unanet makes the project lifecycle come alive. All right, so let's get started. All right, I imagine everyone on this call can relate to this chaos chart. You know, having that one source of truth really is a dream state for most businesses, as many companies still struggle with disparate systems, lack of processes and procedures, and untrained personnel. So what actually happens underneath the hood is more like the chaos that's depicted on this chart. So everyone is in the organization running around with PowerPoint charts, email is flying, and Excel is the book of record. And I kind of liken it to, you know, running around with your hair on fire. But projects are still being executed and completed, but those inefficiencies are very tangible. So there is a better way, and you really can just say no to spreadsheet and legacy system chaos. The ERP that you select needs to have all of the project lifecycle just as a basic part of the system. And, you know, with the project lifecycle, it all starts with a customer need that turns into a proposal that ultimately turns into a project, we hope. And then that project is planned, monitored, and executed. And along the way, transactions against the project must be captured and accounted for by your ERP system. Now, a true project-based ERP is going to revolve around the project itself, just like down here in the right-hand corner. In analytics, they should be available natively for every function that's performed by the ERP. And it really is all about planning, performing, and accounting for the project. So keep in mind, you know, the project is the center of the universe. The tool you select, it really should reflect your world. And the right tool can turn chaos into the organized flow we're showing up here of the project lifecycle. All right, so we're going to get to our first poll. And so what issue is keeping you up at night? Is it operational efficiency, cybersecurity, the political environment we're in today, increasing competition for contracts, or resource recruiting and retention? And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Unanet and CohnReznick's government contracting benchmarking survey. It's called the Gauge, and the 2019 Gauge, you can go out to the unanet.com website and grab your copy of it online. But in that Gauge this year, that last year, it showed that the number one was increased competition. So winning and keeping contracts is definitely top of mind for government contractors. And it was followed by recruiting and retention. So it's very important to have the right resources at the right time. So Veronica, what do you think our poll is going to show today?
I think our poll is going to show cybersecurity being the number one item keeping people up at night.
Yeah, we've got a lot of, you know, regulations coming out, the CMMC requirements. So, you know, I bet that definitely does move up in the numbers this time. So, hey, Jess, can you let us know what the poll shows?
I sure can. So actually, you guys were both wrong. So we had 58% operational efficiency, 17% increase in competition for contracts, and also 17% for resource recruiting and retention. And then we had 8% cybersecurity, and interestingly enough, 0 about the political environment.
Okay, well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys for participating. operational efficiency is always top of mind. You know, making the most out of your resources is what everybody should be looking at. So now the next chart here is what you're looking for should be that one system to handle your project, your people, and your financials with all of your activities like billing and budgeting, timekeeping, expense tracking, integrated into really one single platform. And you're also looking for a tool that enables project accounting that truly should be a fundamental requirement of your system. Now, projects are the center of your universe, and the folks that manage them need to have the right tools. So when you're selecting a tool, make sure that you keep your project teams in the loop. And when I'm talking about project teams, I mean the PMO or the project management office if you have one, all of your project managers, project controls or your project analyst or financial analyst, as well as the functional groups, and especially those functional groups, if they're matrix and they're providing resources to the project, they're very important, and you need to get their feedback and their buy-in. The project manager knowing the status of their projects at any given time should just be a basic requirement, not a luxury. And I just want to make one more point about project management. If you're really looking to improve your execution and your overall outcomes on your projects, you know, really should look at maturing your project management discipline. And when I'm talking about that, I mean your people, making sure that they're trained, making sure that you've got the right processes that enable your projects to be successful, as well as the right tools. And maturing your process is going to allow you to have, again, better execution, as well as a happy customer, more profit, and hopefully more win rates going forward. All right, so we got to our second poll, and what is your biggest project management challenge? Is it inexperienced project managers, poor scope definition, resource management, forecasting, or lack of visibility into the project status? Again, I'm going to reference the 2019 Gauge report, and this year we had forecasting being the number one, and that actually doesn't surprise me a whole lot. There was a lot of money in our industry, and people were definitely executing projects, getting new projects, and forecasting was probably extremely important. It was displaced inexperienced project managers, which was the number 2, so that continues to be an issue. And resource management, you know, I continue to think that that's got to become a more emerging discipline. Veronica, what's your thought as to what our respondents, our attendees here are going to pick today?
I think that resource management is one of the top issues and challenges that a lot of companies face. So that's what I'm going to guess.
Okay, well, I really think that's, you know, a lot of times I think, I keep saying this for the last couple of years, that I think resource management will be an emerging discipline. I think that a lot of people are still using siloed spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets, by project, and everybody's just come to think that that's okay. And the reality is that there is something better, and we're going to talk about that too in a little bit. So Jess, what were the numbers on the respondents?
Let's take a look. All right, so number 1 was the lack of visibility into project status. That was 50%. Then we had 19% said poor scope definition. Then we had a tie for 13% with resource management and forecasting. And then 6% said inexperienced project managers.
Okay,
so a little bit all over the place.
Absolutely, but you know, the lack of visibility into project status, you know, that's a huge issue and problem, and you know, so that's something that we can definitely address with a system that allows the project lifecycle to come alive. All right, so now I'm back on the project lifecycle, and what I'm going to do is just go through each one of these blocks quickly before Veronica presents and shows the Unanet product itself, and what you should be considering in a tool along the way here. So let's start off with pipeline, and I hope that everyone has a structured process for managing the pipe, because the pipeline truly shows the trajectory of the business, and it should be included in all your important forecasts. So like your annual operating plan, as well as your long range plan. So what you should look for in a tool, the real-time integration with your ERP system. And the reason that's so important is because your pipeline is in the tool itself. And so you're able to include that in your all of your forecasts, that annual operating plan and long range plan we just talked about. Also, being able to have customer relationship management within the tool. So you don't just do that customer relationships up front, you do that all the way through the project lifecycle. You know, it's just as important as you're executing that project to be interacting with your customers. You also want to be able to look at the pipeline by phase. And if you look on the right side, the funnel that I've got there, you know, I depicted a 5-step process. You may have 3, you may have 9. But what you want to be able to see is how much potential revenue is in each one of those different phases, so that you'll know, you know, when you can expect to be bidding, you know, how much you've got in bid, whether or not you're expecting to then transport those into the actual report where you've actually won. So that's very important to be able to see it that way. And you also want to be able to have reports, dashboards, and metrics, so that you can look at the pipeline in total, as well as, again, by phase. You also want to be able to see the resource plans for those that pipeline. So that's a real differentiator if you can do that. So you're going to want to look up front to see if you need any special skills, if there's a clearance that you need, and you can let HR know that you're looking for those kinds of people. And maybe you have it, maybe you have somebody who's not available till, you know, the next year. Those are things that you're definitely going to want to be able to look at. The other thing is making sure that you have the ability to have a flexible P-win assignment. And really what that is it allows you to be able to factor the bid to account for uncertainty, you know, so that you get a number that's more realistic into your forecasts. And you also want to have that easy transition from proposal then to executable project. All right, so again, pipeline is very important. Being able to track it within your tool is extremely important. All right, next is proposal generation. Okay, so once you decide to pursue an opportunity, you're going to have to produce a cost proposal. And there's so many considerations when you're bidding professional services work. But by using that true project-based ERP system, you're going to be able to answer all kinds of different questions during the proposal phase, and things that you can think of way before you get to execution. And to me, that's just a huge differentiator. It really gives your project teams the chance to execute successfully. And it's also going to help all this other stakeholders with hiring, acquiring, and managing then the people resources that they have. So let's just look at a couple of questions that you can answer in the proposal phase, you know, if you're really using a true integrated enterprise resource tool. So, you know, what skills do we have? What do we have out there? What certifications? Do they have clearances? You know, when are we going to need those critical skills? And are they available when you need them? You know, can you realistically complete the project with the overall resources you have, or are you going to need to hire additional people? What's the cost of the labor and the expenses? And what's the target revenue at the end of the project? And one of the most critical ones, I think, for being able to figure out what your true strategy is it profitable for your internal goals? And should we be bidding it in the first place? So, you know, bidding blindly can result in poor execution and then ultimately displease customers. So, you know, make sure that your tool can answer at least the majority of these questions. All right, as we continue through the project lifecycle, now we've won the project, woohoo! Okay, and now it's time to initiate the project. And really, we can now take that cost proposal and turn it into a project. And you can do that with Unanet with one single click. So initiating the project very quickly helps you get started. It'll help you manage scope, and it's going to accelerate billings, cash, and revenue recognition. And it's also going to help you stay on time and on budget. All right, and as we progress through the project lifecycle, we're now at planning the project. And planning phase is when the project is really detailed into consumable pieces of work, okay? And that scope then is reflected in a work breakdown structure of the project. So resources, skill mix, timeframes, and rates are planned then at the lowest level of the WBS or work breakdown structure or task. And the length and complexity of the project will definitely dictate how far that you want to plan into the future, and how far it's practical to plan in the future. Now, a realistic plan that all stakeholders agree on is the goal that you want to have. And having a tool that all stakeholders can see those budgets and forecasts, as well as participate in the creation, will help with the accuracy of the information, and it's going to assure buy-in of the plans. And if they don't buy in, at least everybody on the project is going to understand what the plans are. All right, so next we get to execution, and execution is where the rubber meets the road. Okay, and there's many considerations during the execution phase, and all of those are going to have to be taken into account. And each one of these blocks, time, expense, purchasing, all of those are extremely important to executing the project. So the input of and management of time, expenses, and purchasing make up the cost of the project. And then billings to keep the cash flowing, and then RevRec is a critical part of reporting your financials, both internally and externally. And the project manager has to consider all of these things that here, as well as managing the scope, schedule, and cost of the overall project. So again, very important for the project managers and all the other stakeholders, and it's also very important to the executives so that they can see the status of the projects, and they then can make the strategic decisions that they need to make around where the business is, as well as where the business should go into the future. Okay, and then the last piece of the project lifecycle that I'm going to talk about is accounting. And there's a lot of words on this chart, and that's something that you can look at later. But the accounting teams also need a project-based solution. So each transaction that's entered into the system will have a general ledger account, a department or an org, as well as a project. Okay, and this tight integration will help eliminate errors and reduces the amount of manual reconciliations that are going to have to occur. And this integration will help the accounting teams as well give the project teams the vital project information that they need to execute projects. Okay, so the main thing over here, I want to point out this chart, which is the general ledger, the account, the general ledger, the department, and the project. Every transaction within the business is attached to all three. So that really does make for extremely tight integration, and you're not having to go back then and reconcile the project ledger to the general ledger. That's huge. All right, so now we enter into our third poll. What is your biggest audit challenge that you're having today? Is it rates, billing, timekeeping, unallowable expenses, or executive compensation? Now, Veronica, I'm very interested in what your opinion is on what you think the biggest challenge is going to be for these folks on the phone today.
I think it's going to be a tie maybe between timekeeping and rates. I think those are both two items that if you do not have an ERP system today, will definitely provide challenges for you to keep up with.
Absolutely, and rates are, actually if I look at the Gauge report, rates, billing, and timekeeping are 1, 2, and 3. But I think that timekeeping is going to come back. That for timekeeping audits, we hadn't seen a whole lot of those because of the incurred cost audits being so backed up. But I think we're going to start to see more timekeeping audits too out there from DCAA. So, just what'd you get?
All right, let's see here. So we had 42% were timekeeping. We had yet another tie. We had a tie for 21% each for rates and billing. Then we had 16% for unallowable expenses and 0 for executive compensation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you guys for participating in the polls. Okay, so really, moving from transactions to transformations. So right now, seeing a lot of C-suite executives, they're finding a lot of value in automating what were time-consuming and inefficient tasks by really integrating project managers, accounting, and finance, and then working very hard to eliminate that time that's wasted in reconciling transactions between the systems, and therefore you free up the resources to focus really on strategic priorities. And if you look at this graph on the left, what this is really showing is that after they implemented Unanet, they were able to grow their revenue per person, okay, without having to increase anything in the back office or any of the accounting staff. So ultimately, they were able to process a lot more revenue with fewer people. That helps your G&A rates and continues then to make you more competitive. Now, everybody needs real-time reporting today, and that's something that I think we've all come to expect. And this is the vehicle. Having this kind of information is where your information about your business now is going to provide you the insight that you need to make strategic decisions and to manage overall day-to-day activities. Okay, so with that now, I am going to turn this over to Veronica, and she is going to show you the Unanet system. Feel free to ask any questions during this time. I'll field them and get her to answer those for us. All right, so Veronica, there you go.
Thank you very much. All right, so Unanet is a web-based program. And so based on, it's role-based. So based on the credentials that you log in with, your roles will dictate what you see. So as I log in, I'm logging in as an administrator, and that gives me access to all of these different dashboards across the top. That's what we call these green menu items. Each dashboard is configurable by you. So on this particular dashboard that you're looking at, my home dashboard, I've chosen to see all these different charts. And I've saved different reports on my left side of the screen, and I have some shared reports as well, which are reports that anybody can save as a shared report. And then if I have the appropriate role, I can grab it and put it on my dashboard and run it as well. So that's a good way to keep everybody looking at the same information and on the same page by saving it as a shared report so that everybody's looking at the same thing. What you'll notice too, if I flip over to, for example, my people dashboard, it looks completely different. So I've chosen to show some approval queues up at the top, and then I only have a couple charts. So each dashboard can look and feel however I want it to look. So I'm going to show a lot of shared reports today because that just makes it easier. But if you have, like Kim said, if you have questions about something that maybe I haven't shown, let me know. So the first thing I want to show is I'm going to kind of go through that project lifecycle that Kim went through. So to help with your pipeline stages, you can run this pipeline report, which this is an ad hoc report that I've created. And it's pulling in all sorts of information that I've entered against a project. So you can see that I have a project status, which can be any configurable by you. I've chosen to name it pipeline stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. You might choose to name it something different. And then it's going to show me the customer, my project manager, any comments that I have. And then the important information is my total project value, some budget information, hours information, probability, that P-win, and then the total weighted value. So this is a great report that you can run, and because Unanet is all one system and real time, it's going to be updated as information is added to the system. Another nice report that you can run is a CRM contacts report, and I apologize, my web internet is slow today. So here I've just created this report as well to show contacts related to different customers. So I can easily come here, find my important people that I want to contact, and call them, email them, however I want to communicate with them. So after pipeline stage, we're going to get into the resource planning stage. resource allocation stage. So what you can see here is I have a nice chart, this resource allocation chart. It easily shows me, I can see different colors, and I have chosen the colors to mean these different items. You can choose them to mean whatever level or threshold you want. So less than 50% booked is yellow, 50 to 100 is green, red is anything overbooked. So I can easily see that I have in the upcoming months several people that are overbooked. If I drill into that chart, I can see who the people are that make up those numbers. From here, I can also see that Darla is way overbooked in June. If I click into her name again, I can see here's the reason. These are the planned hours. Now, if I want to look at more information about that, for example, what projects she's scheduled to work on, I also have this resource allocation report. So this information is really feeding that chart as well, but this allows me to drill in even more to see, you know, this whole department is way overbooked, you can see. If I look over here, I can see that Chris Director is right online for, and I'm running this by week. I can run this by month, by quarter, by day, any frequency that you would like to run it by. If I click here, I can easily see this is the project he's scheduled to work on, and these are the hours allocated. With that, all of the Unanet reports have this similar look and feel screen of a criteria screen. You're going to be able to slice and dice your data by certain criteria. So here I can look by different people, and I'm choosing to look at these different divisions. I could look by person if I wanted to. I can look by labor category, by those skills that I've entered. So it really allows you to slice and dice your data in a way that's meaningful to you. After I have these resources planned, I can also run a headcount chart, which kind of helps you pictorially view when you need to hire more staff, when you need to ramp up, etc. So if I come down here, is my headcount chart. This just easily lets you see the months. Again, I'm running it by month, what my capacity is versus my plans. So for example, in March, I can see that I might need to hire another FTE or two because I've planned more work than I've got the capacity to fill. And then maybe here, I can get rid of some interns because I don't have as much planned, or I need to plan more work, etc. So this really helps you see your resource availability and allocation. Once we've planned all of our work, so we can plan our people, we can plan our non-labor items like travel and other expenses as well. All of that can be combined into a report that allows us to see what our margin and expected margin is. If I run this report, this is a periodic job summary report that allows me to see by division, by customer, by project, what my expected margin is with my actuals combined with my plans. So this first month of January is showing my actual information through right now at 1:28 p.m. And then for the rest of the month, it's showing the plans. And so I can easily see my labor, my ODCs. I can apply my indirect rates. Right now I'm looking using my provisional rates, but I could use actuals if I wanted to, or targets. And then I can easily see what my margin is. So I can see down the road in August that some of those plans that I've entered are projecting a loss for that month, and so I can dive in and see, you know, why that is. With this report, I can easily roll it up into a company-wide block. So right now I'm showing by project. If I want to see at a company level or roll it all up, you know, so in this instance, I'm rolling up all of my selected projects into one block. So I picked like 3 or 4 projects here. Now it's going to roll it up into one block and show me how those are going to do together combined. So very flexible. This report, again, is a periodic report. If I want to see it just for this current month, which a lot of times is what your PMs are going to be looking at, I can just easily run that as just my JSR. And so again, it's showing by division, by customer, by project, what my current period activity is, my fiscal year to date, my prior fiscal years, and then my project to date information. And what you'll notice on this report is I have these blue sections here that allow me to really drill down into the information. So if I want to see the detail behind my labor number, I can click here on the actuals, and it's going to show me by labor category, by person, their hours and their cost. So with that, I have to have a particular role, which is a cost rate manager role. Maybe you don't want your PMs to be viewing cost rate information. That's fine. You don't allow that role, and then they just won't be able to drill into the details from this report here. You can also drill into your ODCs. I don't have any for this particular project, but you could drill in and view any of the ODC information as well. If I click into there, you can see prior year and fiscal year to date, etc. And so it's showing me by travel, for example, I can see all the different expense types that I've entered into the system and easily break out that travel by airfare, lodging, etc. So this is really a key, this is your project P&L that your managers or PMs are really going to love to have. You also have the ability to run this off of posted data only. So a lot of times your PMs don't necessarily care if that's posted to the GL or not yet. They just want to see it kind of real time, which is what this is showing right now. But your accountants and finance folks might want to see only posted data only. So they have the ability to check that box that says only show posted data only. You also can show any open purchase orders against any commitments against these projects as well. So you can see that I've entered $342,000 worth of subcontractor labor POs in the system, and I can see what's been applied and what hasn't. So as the purchase order comes in, it will increase this amount, and then as the time is entered into Unanet or a vendor invoice is entered into Unanet, that amount will be decreased appropriately. Do we have any questions yet, Kim, or should I keep going?
You should keep going. We've had some questions, but I've been able to field them, so
okay,
we're good.
Perfect. All right. So another nice report and very simple report, but powerful, is this actuals versus budget report. Right now, I'm simply showing my projects, and I'm showing their budget and their actual hours. And this will update in real time. So as a person goes to enter a timesheet right now for an hour, it would update as I refresh the data. Now, again, maybe you want to see that by person. You want to see the labor categories. It's very easy to go back and just say show people, show labor categories, and rerun the report. So within each report of Unanet, you have so many options that can create even more reporting tools for you. Another key report, and from one of the questions, was that you didn't have visibility to your project status. So a great report that you can run is this project status report. And it's just going to show you some important metrics about your project. So it's going to show you the date range, the total hours, the percentage elapsed, etc. And it's just going to show you your actuals, your budgets, all of these fun metrics that you want to see in a snapshot view for your project. And then project notes. So that is a functionality of Unanet that's very powerful as well. You can attach notes at the project level. That can be anything. They'll have a specific status that you create. So this is a contract mod. I can attach the actual contract mod to this project note, and I can have note descriptions. So at any point in time, the project manager can come in and just view all of these project notes for all of their projects, and they can assign a status. These statuses, you have red, yellow, and green. They can mean whatever you want them to mean. And so in this particular instance, I'm looking at, I think, only my red and yellow statuses. So I can see kind of what might be a problem project, if you will. If I click over here on this reports dashboard, I just want to show too that this is all of the reports that come straight out of the box with the Unanet portfolio license type. So you can see that there's hundreds of reports here. And again, within each of those reports, you have the flexibility to create even more reports because you could change the criteria to meet your needs and save them on your dashboards to help you do that. I think that was all that I was planning to show.
That's awesome. Thanks, Veronica.
You're welcome.
We did have a couple of questions.
Okay.
I did answer those. One of them too was, are all these reports in real time? Can you address that?
So the answer is, for the most part, yes, they are in, all of the project reports are real time. Some of the accounting reports, the data, so for example, the income statement is real time except for the labor has to be posted to the GL via a labor cost post that you run. You can run that at any point in time. And so that piece of it is not necessarily real time. So if I run this trending income statement just to show you, what you'll see is, first of all, I'm behind on my closing of my books. So I'm running on a government fiscal period. So I've only closed October, but you can see that in November, I do have some charges here, and that is real-time information. But until I post my labor, until I post my, do my revenue, billing and revenue post and my expense cost post, that information does not show up.
Okay, and Veronica, can you access the information within Unanet to write your own reports and queries if you wanted to?
Well, yes and no. So you can write, we have these reports that come straight out of the box. We have the ability to write ad hoc reports that allow you to dive into different data views so you can look at it by person or by project. And then you can run refreshable web queries, which take any saved report out of Unanet, has a unique URL that you can copy and paste that report into Excel, and it allows you to manipulate the data and put it in a different way if you want, and it will update automatically based on the criteria you save. So if you save a report that says beginning of time to today, if I run it today, it'll have one set of numbers. Tomorrow, it'll have another set of numbers because it'll update, real time. But as far as access to the data model or to the data to write to reports, there is actually a way that you can do that through our cloud data warehouse.
Awesome. Okay, and the dashboards, somebody asked, are those configurable by role?
Yes. So I can just show you that. So if I come to my project dashboard, you'll see I have some different charts on there as well. If I click on this little spokes and wheel, this is what allows me to add the information. So based on my role, I can see these charts. I can save them here. And now because I'm a admin, I can see everything and do everything. But if I'm just a user, I'm not going to be able to add most of these shared reports. Well, I can add them, but I can't run them because I won't have the role to do so.
All right, awesome. Well, I think that was it. And if you guys have any additional questions that you want to put into the console, Veronica and I will answer those for you immediately after the webcast. All right, so if you could just go back to the PowerPoint for me. So just a couple of things. When you guys are looking at picking and implementing a tool, make sure that you can answer a couple of these questions. I really need to be able to answer them all. Is the system that you're considering truly project-based? Is the project the central theme throughout that system? What's the architecture of the software? Is it web-based? Is it one database? Okay, or is it multiple disparate products that are kind of mashed together that appear that they're integrated, but you're really having to maintain all that different information, and they really become disparate systems. Is the company that you're buying from customer-centric? Do they really want to partner with you through, not just buying the software, but then all the way through as you're using that software, and maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, hopefully 10 years down the road, is that a good partner for you? Does the system meet the needs of all the teams? And I talked a little bit about the project managers, and in my past experience, we tend to leave those guys out. We think about the accounting pieces of it and timekeeping, but make sure that it meets the needs of all of your teams. And will the teams actually save money? If they use the system correctly? Are you going to get a return on investment that you're looking for? And then what's that true cost of ownership for that tool? All right, next chart. So with Unanet, we really are focused in on the customer, and we have the total package, and we'll partner with you to reach your desired business outcomes. So it starts with a really good product. Unanet is an awesome project-based ERP. From an implementation perspective, we have knowledgeable folks and a very efficient implementation process. Once you're live, we have education, we have Unanet University, we have customer success management that stays and helps make sure that you're using that tool to its fullest ability, as well as customer support. So we have our last poll, and Jess, if you could take it live here. Are you currently looking for a new ERP? Yes, no, or just exploring? One other thing that the next chart that we're going to show really is being able to look at an ebook. We wrote an ebook. It's called Selecting an ERP for Professional Services Organizations. You can get that on unanet.com backslash ebook, and it's got some great information. You can get that for free, so you can go out and get that. And so, Jess, you can shut that poll down. And then, Veronica, yep, if we could just show where we are here, that's awesome.
Sure, no problem. So we're at 52% are just exploring, 29% are looking for a new ERP, and 19 are good to go.
That's awesome. So we got a lot of people looking for a new tool, and I hope that you'll consider Unanet when looking at that. So on behalf of Unanet, we thank you for attending our webcast. And if you are interested in talking to us, please go to our website, okay? But you can also reach out to Veronica or myself. We'll answer any questions that you may have, and we all hope that you have a great day. So thank you again.